Hi everyone, welcome to Genuine Faith. My name is Tulu. Thanks for joining me in this video. So, what prompted this video was a conversation I had a few weeks back, or maybe a month back, with a friend of mine and her cousin. It just led me to, after that conversation, it just led me to think, man, this topic deserves attention from my channel because, you know, in my context at least, in my surroundings, just being a 22-year-old, woman living in South Africa in Cape Town, I thought maybe this is quite a difficult subject or topic for, many of my peers, and I thought it deserves some attention from this channel because wow, the conversation that we had like really made me think that there's a lot of misconceptions around the topic, around the whole topic of submission, what that entails, and yeah, that just many women view it from a hyper feminist view. They view it as something to oppress women and all of that. So I really thought we could let the Bible speak for itself, let the Bible defend itself, and take some wisdom from the Bible, really. Okay, let me give the background of what the conversation was. So we were talking about a lot of things, and she was saying she is a self-identifying um, misandrist, I think so, which is somebody who hates men. And I thought, wow, we've come so far in feminism, hey? Because if somebody said they were self-identifying misogynist, we would think that there was something wrong with that. But apparently, it's empowering for someone to be a self-identifying misandrist. And I thought that's a sad state of affairs. But yeah, so as she was, saying all these things about how bad men are and how much she hates men, we got into talking. So I was trying, to like convince her from a biblical point of view that men were not created bad. Yes, there's a lot of horrible things that some men have done, but that does not reflect the true image of what men are or what men are supposed to be. That God actually created all of us good, but we have all fallen, which is why both men and women are susceptible to sin and all kinds of horrible evil doings. And then she said, yeah, by the way, I do have a problem with the Bible because I found the most absurd verse ever. And she was like so angry. And I was like, my goodness, what is this verse? And in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, there's a lot of things that make me feel uncomfortable as well in the Bible. There's a lot of difficult, accounts. For example, where what's his name? But David's son rapes his sister Tamar, and basically nothing is done about it. Of course, her brother Absalom, avenges her by killing this other brother whose name has really escaped my mind. But sort of like how David totally ignored it and all of that, and it made me feel so bad, and of how much she was like begging him and saying all sorts of things like, please, my father won't actually deny you if you can just rightfully ask him for you to marry me. And I thought, like, that's just bad as well. Why will David allow his son to marry his daughter? Ugh, anyways, so I was expecting something along those lines, hey? Or how, for example, Lot wanted to give the evil men of the city, of Sodom and Gomorrah, wanted to give them instead of the angels that had come into his house. He even offered them, like, I have two virgins here, take them and use them and, sexually abuse them. But obviously, I thought she was going to show me something like that. But then she shows me Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22. Wives submit. I'm reading the verse from here. It says, wives submit unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. I really laughed, and I was sort of, I don't know, relieved that she didn't bring any of those other difficult passages. And I was like, you think this is a bad passage for a reason? And she was just like saying, why should I listen to a man and all of that? And I thought, that is probably even something I would have said maybe a few years ago, when I was just taking all of my beliefs and stances on things from the general secular conversation, or beliefs or culture, which is really bound or like rooted in hyper negative feminist views. So I was like, this is not a bad verse at all. But it was interesting that she thought she had found something extremely bad in the Bible, and its wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands. So I really thought, let me do a video on this. Um, uh, we'll see what the Bible has to say. So uh, I want to go back to the beginning, right? Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, when God, decides, or actually when God, decides to make um a wife for Adam, right? It's not the first time that God is contemplating on making a woman, or deciding to make a woman, but this is God establishing marriage, basically. Genesis chapter 2, verse 18. And the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him and help meet for him. Okay? So there are like three things that I get from there. Well, two mainly. But the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him and help. And help is somebody who is going to help you. When you think of the word help, it can come in so many so many things can pop up. Either it's a teacher helping a student understand work, so in that way the person helping is sort of has more authority or more knowledge. But it can also be right, the opposite. A help, somebody helping um, helping around the house, a cleaner, so that person would be not more in authority than the person they're helping. You get what I mean? So they would be sort of in a serving role, or let me say the word I'm avoiding, inferior role. Or it could be somebody helping. If somebody helps you, I don't know, let's say your books are falling, and somebody helps you to to pick them up, and that doesn't make them more inferior to you or make them more superior to you. It's just a person helping you pick up your books that fall. So you could basically be equals. Let's say it's another student helping you pick up your books that fell from off your table or whatever. So there are many ways that you can approach that word help, and it doesn't mean anything bad. It's what it all means in all like these three scenarios that I've given. It means that if you're getting help, it means you're being assisted, you're being benefited. So what God is making Eve to be to Adam is beneficial. She's being beneficial to him. She's going to help him. She is not going to be a hindrance to him in any way. And that reminded me of Proverbs chapter 31, verse 10 to 12, where it talks about a virtuous woman. And everybody wants to be a virtuous woman, in the streets. I see, like on the YouTube or social media, just in general, young Christian women um, love Proverbs 31. They don't see anything wrong with it, although they might have some difficulties with other verses, for example, like this Genesis 2:18 or Ephesians 5:22. Yes, Dinga. So let me read Proverbs chapter 31, verse 10 to 12. It says, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of a husband. Verse 11. This is the important verse that I want to link to, being in help. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of a husband doth safely trust in her. so that he shall have no need of spoil, right? No loss. And also verse 12, she will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. So this is a virtuous woman. She's being a help to her husband. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. She benefits him. He can trust in her, he will have no need for spoil. In other words, he will have no loss, financially or otherwise. He is with somebody who is, economical, somebody who is savvy, somebody who just knows how to manage the house well. So, not necessarily, only the house, but she knows how to manage everything well. If you read on, this woman is able to make clothes. This woman is able to, you know, do, exchanges, like foreign exchanges. She's able to go and see merchants. And yeah, man, there's a lot that she's able to manage. Even her children rise and call her blessed, right? So all those sorts of things. So, when we now see Ephesians chapter 5:22, why should we think that it is a bad thing? If we, if you know, if she's being a help meet to a husband. I mean, in Genesis 2 verse 18, why should we think help is a bad thing? If you are calling for help, you are not calling for, I don't know, if you shout help, anything like that. Let's say you're in a bad situation, somebody's strangling you. When you're calling for help, you're not calling for abuse, you're calling for help against the abuse. Help is a good thing. So Adam needed help. So he gets a help, somebody who's beneficial. And then the verse 18, Genesis 22, continues to say, help meet for him. So the second part there is meet, somebody who is equal to him, somebody who is also suitable to him. Because, God looks around, or Adam also can look around and see, well, all the other animals had mates, but Adam didn't find any mate or, partner suitable for him. So God actually makes somebody suitable for him. And I think, you know, Patriarchs and Prophets, Patriarchs and Prophets, page 46, paragraph 1 has something to say on this. I love how Ellen White puts it here. It says, God himself gave Adam a companion. He provided and helped meet for him, a helper corresponding to him, one who was fitted to be his companion and who could be one with him in love and sympathy, right? So the monkeys, the lions were not, fitted to be his companion. The chickens either. It doesn't say this in the quotation. Okay, let me read on. Eve was created from a rib taken from the side of Adam, signifying that she was not to control him as a head, nor to be trampled under his feet as an inferior, but to stand by his side as an equal, to be loved and protected by him, right? So there comes like so many important things here. She is not going to, rule over his head and make him an inferior, nor is she going to be trampled under his feet and be herself an inferior, but she's, corresponding to him. She's next to him. And also, like, just the interesting analogy of why God used the rib, it's exactly on the side, and it's, like under his arms. It's protected. So she was going to be, protected by him. Since he was, let me say first, he was created first. There's so much wisdom that he had, already, because he was made before her, and also just being more stronger, in his masculinity, being stronger than her. If she's a weaker vessel, that doesn't mean that she's inferior, but it actually gives him the opportunity to be stronger for her and to protect her. The quotation goes on and says, a part of man, bone of his bone, flesh of his flesh, she was his second self, showing the close union and the affectionate attachment that should exist in this relation. So in marriage, there should be a close union and an affectionate attachment, right? It shouldn't be about anyone trying to dominate the other person, but there should be this affectionate attachment. For no man ever yet hateth his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherisheth it. So that is, rich things that you find if you read on from Ephesians chapter 22. In verse 29, you find that no man ever hated his own flesh. And remember, Adam said Eve was flesh of his flesh. So if she is flesh of his flesh, nobody can hate their own flesh. You take care of your body and you nourish it. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one. Okay, that's the end of the quotation. So I find interesting things here, because just in verse 21, before you read verse 22, it says, submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God. That's Ephesians 5:21. Submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God. This is addressing Christians in general, but if you are both married, and the first thing that you are before your husband and wife is you're both Christians. So obviously you're going into this marriage having Christian values. You will be submitting one to another. It doesn't mean that the husband will never listen to his wife. Any wise man will listen to his wife, but it just means that he does have that authority from God to be the decision maker, to be the leader. Verse 25 also says, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. And I was like, I wonder if, anybody who feels some sort of tension, or, doesn't really understand verse 22, reads the whole chapter, read verse 25. It says, men must love their wives and be willing to die for them, just like Christ died for the church. I think that is something more scary, or more challenging than just submitting. You actually have to be willing to die for someone. That requires so much more humility and nobility. Because one thing that perhaps submission, or people do not like about submission, or women do not like about submission, is they feel that it will humiliate them, or it will make them look powerless. So it takes some humility, which we don't like as human beings, because we are in our fallen nature naturally selfish. But then how much more humiliation did Christ bear on the cross while dying for the church? And that is what is required of men. They have to be humble enough to be willing to die for their spouses, willing to die for their wives. And that might look like, oh, when is he ever going to die? But there might be situations, like literal situations, that you can think of. If a robber were to come into our house, my husband would, I'm sure, willingly try and put himself in front of me, take the gun or whatever, like take the first shot. He would be willing to risk his life for me. Whereas I don't know if I would do that. Yeah. But anyways, so that is like the whole picture of submission. It is something beautiful that God has created within marriage, and not something that anyone of any age in any country, especially a woman, should hate, but something that we should be really willing to search out and understand. So the conclusion that I have is, if anything is written in God's word, as Christians, we should pray, for Christ to give us all the strength, and seek with all our hearts to apply that in our own lives, not just to be hearers or readers of the word, but be doers of the word as well. And yeah, please, if you have any more questions, I'd be willing to engage in a conversation. This is a topic that I love, that I'm still, trying to, or that I'm trying to, get other Christian believers or other young women to see the beauty of. Yeah, and if you have, like anything to add, um, that would, help everybody else to understand submission in a better light, please do also, like, put that in the comments. And until then, we'll see you in the next video. Bye. See, bye, Tinga. You don't want to say bye. You want, but you want to make an appearance. You want to make an appearance in my video. I see you want to make an appearance in my video. Okay. Bye.